welcome back to Cosplay Stitch and Seam Lore Edition. I bet you thought you were expecting somebody else, but I have so many great pieces of lore to tell you. This one is not going to be as scripted as the last. It's just going to be more, I've got some notes, and then I will be telling you about those things. But before we do that, if you want to tell us about your lore that you love to share, things about your anime that you're watching, your hyper-focus of 1950s fashion, or anything along those lines, we would love to hear it. You can tell us by going to our website. Again, I'm doing this alone. You would think after like 3 of these, I'd know how to do it right, but it's always a struggle. Go to our website, cosplaystitchandseam.com. Send us an email, cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com. Go to our Facebook page or our Discord. We would love to hear what you guys are working on. We would love to know all the great things. And of course, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/cosplaystitch. And if you've got a few dollars burning a hole in your pocket, or, you got a few extra bucks because of the holiday season and you don't know what to spend it on, you want to help us pay to keep the website and the lights going and all that stuff, that's awesome. If you're not in a place to support, just share the podcast with a friend. That's the best way to make sure that this gets around and everybody has a chance to join this fantastic, awesome community. Okay, with all that out of the way, I am going to finally talk about Hollow Knight lore. Hollow Knight lore. I am so stinking excited. This also isn't going to have a lot of editing done because I'm just excited about this thing. So I'm going to begin in the very beginning. I'm not going to talk about the gameplay. I'm not going to be talking about the mechanics. I'm not going to be talking about the creators, Team Cherry. Team Cherry is great, though. If they would just hurry up with Silk Song, ooh, one of these days, that game will come out. Okay, so before the game begins, there are a few tribes and groupings that you need to be aware of in the Hollow Knight area. Again, this is not scripted. This is all mostly my notes and off the top of my dome. So we have the Dreaming, which was broken into two different parts. Again, very little editing. Get this right the first time, David. Dreaming, which was broken into 2 parts, Dreams and Nightmares. Now, the nightmares doesn't really matter so much for us right now, but it does have consequences later on. The dreaming is a big portion of this, so keep the dreaming in mind. There is the Mantis tribe, the Bees of the Hive, the Spiders and Weavers, that's one tribe, the Void, and the Radiance. And there's like little bit of communities all around the area called Hollow Nest. And a lot of the people here, have a recollection of a community that worshipped the Void, but they all went missing. And nobody knows really why. And a lot of people in this Hollow Nest were worshippers of the Radiance. And a lot of them were worshipped by her a lot of them were descendants of the Radiance, who is a moth, and her descendants are the moth tribe of the Resting Grounds. Okay. The dreams are very important because that's, where you kind of go in the afterlife. That's where, like, the idea of you can continue is in the dreaming. It's very, very important. So all of these different communities are getting along okay. They obviously don't have, the greatest of connections, but they're getting along. And then a giant pale worm arrives. Now, if this wasn't clear before, these are all bugs. Everything here is bug related, and I love a cute little bug guy. Giant worm arrives, and it sheds its skin, and inside the worm, after its skin is shed, a egg hatches, and a higher being walks out of it. Now, this higher being is very important because most of these bugs don't have an awareness about and an intelligence about the world around them. They just are doing what bugs do. They have the 4 Fs. Or is it the 3 Fs? But they are just living and thriving. And then this higher being of a worm walks out and he's like, I am going to be your king. I am going to give you intelligence and self-awareness to build community. And I will call myself the Pale King. Okay? So the Pale King comes out, all powerful. He just exudes intelligence. Now, it is something that you have to be willing to take upon yourselves, and he offers that awareness and intelligence if you will, accept him as his ruler. He then marries this woman named the White Lady. Not a lot is known about the White Lady or where she came from. Is she a higher being as well? Or does she just get the benefit of the AoE effect of the Pale King? Okay? The only thing that really is known is that she wants to have as many children as possible, if you get my drift. So much so that she banishes herself into the root of a tree later on in the story because she is so overwhelmed with her desire. Okay? So, in the time that they are building their kingdom, there are a few tribes that are like, heck yeah, let's go. Let's do this. Like the Moth tribe. They are so happy. They abandon the Radiance, their god, and start following the Pale King. But not everybody wants the Pale King's assistance. Most areas are totally chill with it, and they respect him, except for the spiders and the bees. The spiders kind of have like a truce, or I guess a truce. They are willing to work with each other, be neighboring kingdoms. The Mantis tribe basically is like, we're too prideful in our warrior tactics, and we are not going to partner with you, but we will make sure that you are not invaded because we want to continue fighting stuff. So we will fight the things that are coming in that do not have the grace of your intelligence. And the bees, they just seal themselves off from society entirely. And that's honestly might be one of the last times that we hear from the bees. So the king, the Pale King, he's running this kingdom so freaking great. They build this monumental city under this giant lake. Again, it's bees. It's bugs. They're all underneath the ground. And they call it the City of Tears because the lake slowly rains above the city. And they're living their lives. Everything's great. The king even has an honor guard of these 5 major knights who are very, very powerful. And they have all of these great responsibilities and features and caricatures about themselves. Well, an infection starts coming across. Anyone who is affected, their eyes turn this sickly orange, and they start being very, very ill. And when they become sickly orange, they lose themselves, almost zombified. And this infection spreads so easily, and it's not like a bite. They kind of just wake up one day, and they are no longer able to control their senses. So the 5 warriors have to try and defend the entire kingdom of the Hollow Nest. While this is happening, the king is trying to figure out, what the heck do I do? So he decides he's going to do 2 things. One, he's going to move his palace into the Dreaming. So he moves his entire kingdom into the Dreaming. However, the Hollow Nest still stays where it is, so all of his subjects are technically in another realm, but he's still ruling over them. And while he's doing this, he's also trying to figure out, how do I protect my people? And he goes looking, and he finds the Void, deep below the Hollow Nest. It's the very, very bottom of everything. And he notices that the Void is alive, and it is not being affected by this infection. And he starts trying to figure out, what is causing this infection, and what can I do with this Void? And he starts realizing that the Void is kind of alive. Think of an inky mess that is able to move and has some form of sentience. So the Pale King makes a knight's mold, and he throws some Void in there, and it makes these almost perfect centurion guards. They hold everything in place for a little while, and everything seems to be going okay. The 5 guardians are not doing so hot, though, because they are easily overwhelmed, because again, whenever someone kind of wakes up, they seem to be affected by this infection, whatever it could be. While they're trying to figure out what is going on, the king finds out, oh crap, this infection is caused by the Radiance, the god of light, essentially, because she is upset that all of her worshippers have essentially abandoned her. She's giving us a chance to re-worship her again. Well, I'm the Pale King, and I'm a little bit of a jealous guy, so I'm not going to split my attention. No. This is all for me. And so he decides that the only way to make sure that the radiance is no longer affecting his kingdom is by creating a hollow being, a creature without any soul, but still autonomous and has the ability to act on their own, but also doesn't have a whole lot of personal will. So he starts working with the White Lady, if you get my drift, and they start creating lesser beings, shells, if you will. And in those shells, the Pale King is grabbing as much void as he can, and he's trying to bring these beings to life. And they make thousands of these little guys. One day, a specific being, a void being, is proven worthy. And they call him the Hollow Knight because he's supposed to be a hollow being that can take in the radiance and trap her forever and ever. It's a sacrifice that they're going to have to do. And they realize, the Pale King at least realizes, that it's not going to be a solo feat by this Hollow Knight. So the Hollow Knight is now being trained in the Dream Kingdom, right? Remember, it's not in this world, and it's full of dangers. It's all there to train the knight to become the strongest version that he can, the Hollow Knight. So while he's training with buzzsaws and spikes and pitfalls galore, the Pale King goes over to some of the other, not higher beings, but just like one step below, and says, look, I need help. I need help to maintain the dreaming side of the thing while I also maintain the physical side of the thing. So I need 3 people to make sure that the dreaming side is taken care of, and I'll take care of the physical side. So two beings, one is a teacher and one is a learner, and they're like, heck yeah, sacrifice for the greater good, making sure that everyone's going to stay safe, stay peaceful. It's going to be great. It's going to be fine. The third, however, is the queen of the spiders and weavers. And she says, I'll do it, but you have to give me a child. And thus, Hornet is born, half Pale King, half spider. And we love Hornet. Hornet is great. She'll come back in just a second. So, the Hollow Knight is done training. He becomes Big Boy Knight. He's no longer this tiny little insect. He's got like this huge head piece. He's dope. He's so cool. He fights the Radiance, takes all of the infection inside of himself, and is chained and bound physically and with dream chains. And the 3 dreamers, as they are now called, dream forever in their kingdoms, their territories, wherever they were most easily accessible. And they dream forever to hold back the Radiance. Done and done. Story over. Everything's good. The Pale King lives on, right? No, of course not, because this is the Hollow Knight. But we don't play as the Knight. We don't play as the Hollow Knight. We play as the Knight, which is a very different character. So somehow, while all that training has happened, while the kingdom was supposed to be at peace, some of those voidling creatures who had these shells from the Pale King and the White Lady escaped the void area and not through the main door. And the kingdom starts realizing, oh, wait a minute, the infection is not 100% gone. Things are falling apart quickly. And with that quickly, the 5 great knights that defended the king, the honor guard, they all die horrific deaths except for one. They all are trying to protect their people, they're all trying to protect each other, and only one of them survives. And of course, that's the best boy, that's the Dung Defender, who he is the best, and I don't care what any cosplay judges say, I'm looking at you, Jez, he is the best boy in that game. Can't take that from me. So, the kingdom starts falling apart. And with the fear that even more terror is going to happen, the Pale King removes his kingdom from being able to be accessed at all. It is only available in the dreaming, and the only way that you can get it is by dreaming at the right place at the right time. Okay? The White Lady binds herself up because she has become so ravenous, I think is a good word for it, that she can no longer control her own mind. There's not a lot on what had happened there, but that's the most that we have. So the kingdom falls apart. There is no more king. There is no more order. The other private tribes, the mantis tribes, they're doing their own thing. They're perfectly fine. The bees of the hive, hidden away, couldn't even care. All of it's orange honey anyways, so it all kind of looks the same. They're fine. So there are a few beings that are unaffected by the infection, but it's not 100% stopped, and they wonder why, and they find out that the Hollow Knight was not a perfect hollow being. He still had some form of emotion, and that's not the key ingredient to keep the Radiance at bay. So you come in as the Knight, and the Knight comes into a desolate and destroyed Hollow Nest. There is hardly anybody here, and anybody who is there seems to be affected by the Radiance's disease. So you go around trying to figure out what's going on, where are all these people, and you get kind of power-ups and you fight remnants of what's going on and figuring out, oh, you know, this is one of those knights. This is one of the, oh, no, it's not one of the knights. It's somebody in their armor. And you come across technically your half-sister Hornet. And she says, you're not strong enough. Go home. I know everything because I'm your big sister. And you continue on. And in that continuing, you fight, and it's such a struggle, and it's so freaking good, and it's so rewarding, and the combat and the control scheme, so good. Mwah. I know I wasn't going to talk about it a lot, but there it is. And you find the three dreamers with the aid of the last Moth tribe member, who she still worships the Radiance. And she gives you the tool of the Dreaming Blade that allows you to enter the dream. And you can even read the dreams and minds of other beings as they're moving around. So with that, you are able to enter into the dreams of the three dreamers that are holding everything together. And even though they're holding everything together, it's not perfect, and they know that, something has to give. So you go to their dreams, and you say, hey, I'm here, and they're like, yeah, you gotta end us, and then you gotta fight the Hollow Knight. And from there, everything will be hunky-dory. So you do that. You go to all three of them. You find out that they are all worthwhile characters of trying to protect their own people. But, of course, hindsight is 2020. All while you're doing this, you find the black egg. It's kind of the inverse of the white egg that the Pale King comes from, and it's supposed to be the white egg is the beginning of everything, and the black egg is the end of it all. There would be no more troubles after the black egg. And you see that it is this monument to the Hollow Knight, and for every dreamer that you kill, the black egg opens just a little bit more. And there's also in the City of Tears a statue commemorating the sacrifice of these four beings, the Hollow Knight and the three dreamers. And while you're there, Hornet comes in and says, listen, you don't have the brand of the king. You're not going to be able to do this. Even if you have defeated all three dreamers, you're just not going to be able to do this. You're too weak. So you have two different endings. And this is where spoiler territory really starts to come in. So if you don't want to hear the story, it's not really given to you in the game, so I'm just giving you more lore, but if you don't want to hear spoilers, I totally understand it. Stop now, skip to the end, make sure that the podcast plays to all the way to the end. That helps out a lot. And, grab a fruit snack on your way out. Thanks. If you are here for the lore, there's a couple different endings. There is a kind of bad ending and a mediocre ending. When you defeat the three dreamers, you can go to the black egg and you can then fight the Hollow Knight. And the Hollow Knight is chained up. You break the chains and you see like the dream bindings on them fall apart as well. Very, very visually satisfying to see. And you fight the Hollow Knight. But like halfway through, the Hollow Knight recognizes that he is the source of the infection at this point, and he doesn't want to be the bad guy anymore. So he starts harming himself to try and kind of help you, but can't help but defend himself. So it's a mixed bag, and it's really harrowing to kind of experience. But you defeat him, and then you take on the infection, and you are bound forever and ever without any dreamers. Hopefully the cycle ends with you. That's the bad ending. The better ending is you go, how do I, trying to like put the pieces of everything together. As you are exploring the Hollow Nest, you kind of come to where the Pale King exited as a worm, and you find the white egg. And the white egg is protected by Hornet, and she fights you one last time to prove that you are worthy. And when you beat her, she's like, okay, I think you're strong enough. If you go on this path, things might actually have a chance to change. You then find the Brand of the King, and it is now this perpetual mark on you, and it is there to signify that you kind of have this royal line of blood. You can even find where the White Lady has bound herself. And she's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You are my kin. I love you. Here's half of the infinite soul piece. This mark that is the way that you can use all of your abilities to defend those you love. The other half is with my husband. So you're like, oh crap, how do I get to the dreaming? Oh wait, I have this dream blade that's so dope. So you go to where the last known location of the Pale King's kingdom was, and you use the dream blade to enter in the hell that it is the White Palace. It's full of buzzsaws, it's full of drops, there is so little saving points. There is a whole section in the DLC called the Path of Pain. It is oh my gosh, it took me like a whole weekend going through what people can beat in 4.5 minutes. It is ruthless platforming. Run, jump, dodge, dash, down pogo, bunny hops, whatever you want to call them. They are there. They are used, abused, and repeated over and over again. It's so good. Legit. Again, control schemes could not be better. Okay. So once you go through the White Palace, you find the Pale King, who is now a corpse on his throne. No one knows how he died. Did he succumb to the void? Did the radiance finally infect him as well? Or was the fact that he removed himself from the people that he ruled over with kind of like drained his ability to thrive because he had no one to control? No one knows. But on his corpse, you find the second half of this soul piece. And the soul piece activates your powers. You can then go and fight the Hollow Knight once again. But this time, Hornet comes in, and she has her famous line of, "Get good!" Now, it sounds like she's saying get good, but the creators say that she is saying get goo? Get goo? I don't know. It sounds like she's telling me to get good, and I try to so bad. Now, when you attack together, there is a moment where you're like, oh my gosh, there's little dream icon stuff here. Let me try and use dream stuff. And you go into the dreaming portal that is the Hollow Knight now. Because remember, he has the radiance inside of him. And then you stand there on this platform, seeing the sunset in that yellow golden color, clouds in that kind of like Hercules aesthetic where it's not quite white, it's not quite yellow, it's not quite gold, just beautiful. And then the sun moves and turns into a giant moth, and you fight the sickest 3-stage platform. Oh, great boss fight. Fantastic boss fight. And you fight this perfect version of the Radiance, and not only are you able to destroy the Radiance and the infection that goes along with it, but at the sacrifice of yourself, you are able to save your brother as well. No more infection, no more chains, nothing along those lines. You save the day entirely. And that's it. That's the Hollow Knight lore, baby! I love it. I love that game so much. The vibes are so good. The music is fantastic. One day, we're going to get the sequel, which is when you get to play as Hornet, this this cool person, very cool person, trying to discover like this new world, and because there's nothing left in Hollow Nest. Like a few of the survivors have gotten together, but it's not that great. So yeah, definitely worth it. It is a very hard game. I cannot recommend it if you hate trial and error and you're looking for a comfy, cozy game. It is not comfy. It is not cozy. It's downright scary at times. But I love it. I love the platforming. If you like Castlevania, like the newer Castlevanias where you're kind of traversing a big area, or Metroidvania, as they can be often called, with the like Metroid and Castlevania style, where you go left for so long and you're like, oh, well, I have to get the double jump. So you leave and then you get the double jump and now you can come back to that first area. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. If my partner, Kaylin, can beat the game, you can beat the game. It is so freaking good. It requires a lot of dedication, but I understand if it's not for you. Definitely give it a shot if you think it would be fun, or I might do another live stream of me playing it. If that's something that you're interested in, let me know, and I will set a date and time, and I will just go through Hollow Knight and why it's so great. But in the meantime, that has been my lore episode. We did have plans to have more people talk, but it's the holidays, it's busy, so I hope you're not sick of my voice at this point in time. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, very light on the editing episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I do want to shout out our fantastic members on our Patreon who help continue paying for all the lights and everything that we need to make sure the show is so good. Some of those amazing people are Misty Lee, Jack S, Cynthia Eve Cosplay, Starfetcher, Troft Cos, Lydia, Yggdrasil, Dr. Steggy, Cynics, Hot Riku, Renamira, Jazzy Kofed, Gloria Shu, and Silver Deeds. Thank you guys so much for being as awesome as you are. And remember, if you want to join the Patreon, it's just patreon.com/cosplaystitch. For $3 a month, you get a shout out every single episode. For $5 a month, you can join our Cosplay Chronicles. I'm, again, not doing a lot of editing. Make sure to share the podcast with a friend. Join our Discord server. We've got great people talking about great things. A lot of love for the Yu Yu Hakusho series, the new Netflix show. I liked it. I thought it was fun. I've been talking for like half an hour straight now, so I will bounce. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your holiday season. Know that you're loved. We love you. Stay safe out there and have a good one. Bye, guys.